It's Saturday the 16th of November and today is going to be Clear the Polytunnel Day. We're going to take off all the tomatoes, anything with some colour will get sorted separately from anything that's entirely green. Some will probably ripen up and become passata, and we may turn some green tomatoes into chutney. We've just gone and grabbed some windfall apples from the community orchard a couple of fields along from the allotment site. So yeah, better get cracking and making this space ready for some winter leaf crops and the polytunnel garlic. And we're done. So that's all those tomatoes out. Almost all the chilies. We kept a couple of little biquitos down there because I thought I might want to keep them over winter maybe. They're not big plants, but they are something that looks quite healthy. So we've left some marigolds for now. They'll die off soon enough, but they're too pretty to take away and they smell nice. We have the few little seed beds we put in, the celery's down here. But yeah, this place feels like a giant music hall now. It's so massive and empty. The tomato strings are tucked up out of the way till next year. And probably tomorrow we're going to start putting in our garlic and stuff. These beds have now been watered with quite a bit of water. And we'll do another quick water to start with tomorrow before starting to get some leaf crops and some garlics in. And it's getting dark, so we better get packed up now. This polytunnel is definitely going to need a clean this season. It's getting a bit grotty. What a glorious autumn afternoon. We got here and then the sun decided to shine. So hopefully we'll have a bit more of that before it gets darker. Today's key job is to get some winter stuff into the polytunnel, which we cleared yesterday. Kat is bringing the garlic cloves. We have some new garlic, planting garlic from the garlic farm from the Isle of Wight. So whilst Kat basks in the flames, I shall be prepping the garlic for planting. So to keep things vaguely in the line, running a string line down the middle, and I've placed a hole every 10 centimeters but alternating sides. Getting a few less in this bed than I was originally hoping, mainly because I've got a fair bit of stuff also at either end, so we've lost a few garlic planting spots from the full length, but that's going to give us about 26 garlics per bed, which is okay. And we've got a longer length down that side, but we'll only do one row down there, and the other side is a similar length to these middle beds because it cuts off at the IBCs.
That should be one.
So the first thing I'm going to plant is the Kingsland Wight, and we're going to break these cloves up and just plant the better out of them and see how many we get. That is the Kingsland Wight broken up. I've sorted them. At the top we have what I consider the premium fat planting cloves. Only 9 of them. Middle is medium cloves. Also got 9 of them. No, 10. Nope, 9. I can count, really. And then down the bottom, kind of iffy ones. 8 of them. That actually means we've got 26 of them. And then these are the runts, which are just not worth putting in the ground. The runts will go in the kitchen and will still see good use in a dinner. But I'll plant all of these other ones here, and that will fill the bed I just filled full of holes. Next up is the Picardy Wight. This is a soft neck variety. We normally grow hard necks, mainly just because we've had the most success with the hard neck varieties we've tried. But when I did this second garlic order, I thought, well, let's try some soft necks. Maybe we can have a nice plat of garlic at the next summer. We'll see. So time to break these apart. So that is the 2 Picardy Wight clusters broken up. you can actually see we've got very similar results to the Kingsland Wight. The average biggest cloves in the Picardy seems a little bit smaller, but anything could be up to growing conditions and all sorts, so it doesn't mean a lot. It's quite good to see there's a good range of good sized bulbs in these two. Being a big fan of Kingsland Wight, that's kind of like our benchmark. This is a real chonker. I think it's almost 2 cloves, but I don't want to break it in half because I don't really like it when they end up like this, so I'm a bit iffy about planting those ones. But there's 25 good sized bulbs there, well, good to kind of iffy sized bulbs. That will fill our second broad bed in the polytunnel, and again we've got some runts that will go into dinner sometime. So that's 26 Kingsland Wight in that bed, 25 Picardy Wight in there, and now we'll move on to the eaten garlic of unknown variety. We'll put a strip down there at 15 centimetre spacing, just one row and another row of 15 centimetre spacing here. The key thing with our garlic planting is we don't want to get in the way of our spring plantings, so there'll be tomatoes going in either side of these two beds, and things like maybe chilies and aubergines going in the front part of these beds, so the garlic line will be nearer to the edge. Right, so these are our eaten garlics here. This was a pack for like 20 quid for 20 bulbs, but we actually got about 25 from what they called the garlic farm from Isle of Wight. And there's some pretty good garlic here, so I'm just going to separate out the biggest cloves we need to do these beds, and the rest will go to the kitchen. And there we have 60 of the chunkiest cloves from that box of eaten garlic. They're a good size. There's plenty of good sized ones in there. We have no idea what this variety is. It may actually be a couple of varieties. Some have a bit of a pinkish hue like those two. Most of them don't. There's a pinkish one there, but I'm not too fussed. This is just filler really, and if we get a good crop out of it and they're really good, we'll probably keep some for the next year's planting. Our core aim this year is to get enough garlic in that next year we can be almost entirely, if not entirely, self-sufficient in planting our own garlic, which should be hopefully around 200 heads of garlic, with whatever number, 30 or so, 20 reserved for planting. But we'll see what happens. Time to get these into the ground. Cat is next door creating a wild conflagration, burning off various sticks and bits that we need clearing. One of the main reasons is up the back here we've got these old compost bays we inherited with this plot. They're full of sticks, some of which we added, some of which were there already, so we're clearing them out because that whole lot has to go. We've got to reinforce the back bank, and we're going to put a bench there which will also become the wood store for all of this stuff that currently we trip over all the time in the polytunnel. You can probably hear the background noise of rain on the polytunnel. Hopefully you can hear me. The garlic is in, and there's some blue granules on there, which is this stuff, which we're using this year to hopefully make up for the fact that our own compost situation isn't as good as it should be. And now we're just sort of covering them, covering the beds with this municipal compost to add what we can and give them a little bit of a blanket as the cold weather sets in. Cold, rain, and now darkness are stopping play. The problem with the colder weather is that once it drops that extra couple of degrees in the evening, if I'm sort of doing work, I start sweating, my glasses fog up, and I cannot see a thing. If I take my glasses off, unfortunately in low light, I'm not a lot better. So at some point I think I need to revisit contacts. They're a pain, but they work. So we're not getting the rest of these leaf crops down here in today. They'll be another day, but they can live in the polytunnel for now, giving them a bit of water. We have put a row of, I think it's pak choys in here. Choys of some sort. The garlic rows have been covered up with a layer of compost now, just the municipal stuff. But the good thing about the municipal stuff is it tends not to give us any weeds because it's sterile. So it's a good mulch cover. We'll be back here again sometime during the week to pop in those seedlings. We have some mustard greens, some winter spinach, and some chard to try growing in the polytunnel over winter. Oh, and a bit of lamb's lettuce down there as well at the end. Unfortunately, one of the spinach varieties looks like it's bolting to seed, so, well, we'll see how we go. Still a bit experimental. We're not all that familiar with doing winter growing, aside from the garlic. And we've got a good old crop of garlic going on, so at least we know we're good in that department. Kat has done a really good job pulling out all of the sticks, and I think there were several years worth of cardoon stems back here. The people who had this plot used to have the plot across the road, which has a massive patch of cardoons, and I think every year they were just stuffing them all in these bays. There's billions of cardoon seeds down there as well. But that's all nice and clear now, and it's been burnt, so it's out of the way. And these things at the back will hopefully go pretty soon. I can't zoom out with my flash/light on, unfortunately. And we'll stabilise this because this is pretty much looking like it's going to all fall into that great big drainage ditch behind. But yeah, and we were just talking about how wet it is here. A little bit of rain today. Can't really see that. Oh, there we go. And we're wondering if maybe we should put some sort of drainage ditch down the middle of the plot into that drain down the back, which might be useful, or at least we'll have to. We were just going to do these beds in here level, but it's very wet, so we're wondering if maybe we need to think about that. But we'll see. The bin of burning is burning down, and so ends another Sunday down the allotment. We really need to try and get up earlier, make better use of the light we have in winter. We didn't get down till about 1 PM today, which is a little bit better than often, but it gets so dark so early now, and especially when it's dark and grey like this, even though we could be doing some work in the polytunnel, for example, it's just too dark now. And we were going to have a little bit of a allotment barbecue, a couple of burgers, but we'll be doing that at home now. Okay, time to go home.